Hello everybody, welcome back to the Advanced Vape channel. Sorry it's been a little bit since I made a video. I'm kind of just getting over having a hand injury, so I haven't really been able to build, even re-wick my stuff or do any of the kind of building stuff that I normally do on a daily basis, but I'm getting better now, so finally can make this video that I've wanted to make for a while now. So we're going to be taking a look today at the SERPENT SMM from Wotofo and Suckmymod. So this is kind of a modified single coil tank, and just the outer design of the tank really reminds me of the Mage GTA. So we kind of got that Genesis tank atomizer thing going on, like the Mage and like the Troll RTA, where the deck kind of sits up a little bit, and there's just room down there. Unlike the Troll, though, this is single coil. Top fill works pretty much like any other top fill. And kind of where this tank is unique is on the build deck. So although it has 4 posts, it's single coil. It's kind of just there depending on how you want to install it. It has these large posts that are in the way there, and airflow that comes through the posts. I know that it's kind of hard to see. Let me let it focus. It's kind of hard to see with the coil in the way, but there's an air slot there right in the middle of the post, and there's also one underneath it there on both sides. I apologize if that's hard to see, but they're kind of stacked on top of each other. And you have the legs in opposing directions. So for coil placement on this, I tend to put the coil pretty high. Right about there. And I know that's higher than most people put it. That's just from my experience what works the best in terms of flavor. So now that that coil's out of the way, you can see a little bit better where those airflows are. There's 2 on each side. And it kind of comes through the post, sort of like the Hadley, but from the bottom instead of from the sides. Okay, so let's go on and get through dry firing. I'll zoom in, and I know it's going to be kind of hard to see because of these posts in the way, but I'll try my best. And this is a quad-core interlocking alien, all stainless steel, 3mm and 6 wraps, or 5.5 because it's opposing. So I've noticed that when putting big coils on this particular tank, it can be kind of brutal for getting out the hot spots. There's 2 big posts in the way, and if you're doing big coils, I tend to see a lot of hot spots right at that kind of where the wrap that connects to the post is touching the next wrap over. So right there, or right in there. And that's just from having big coils and having the post sort of being at an odd angle. I don't think that's really the fault of this tank. That's just how it goes with the big coil in this setup. But it does make it hard to get the hot spots out if you can only really get at it from this side. You can only really squeeze it or brush the top of it. So normally I would be able to brush along the front and maybe even the bottom, depending on the design, and the top. But on this one, it's just the top or kind of wiggling it. And for me, I don't tend to squeeze too much because I know that people have a tendency to overfire when they're using their ceramic tweezers and squeezing while they're firing. Anyway, just a little bit difficult to dry fire on this, at least with this build on here. So we'll go on and talk about wicking, and wicking is really important on any kind of sort of Genesis kind of tank. The Mage GTA is the same way. I'm sure that there's a lot of ways to wick this. This is just the way that I found that works best for me. And I'll be using cotton bacon. And I'll go on and zoom out. So I normally pull the legs down and kind of lay it against that O-ring and cut. So I know a lot of people tend to make the wicks much shorter on this one, basically about right there, so not sticking down into the kind of lower section at all. But if you do that, same issue with the troll. As soon as the juice falls below this level, then you're gonna have to turn it upside down to get access to that juice, and that doesn't really work on a tank because it'll just flow past it. So you kind of miss out on all the juice that's down in there, and you have to refill and keep the juice above that level to really get efficient wicking. But at least if you have these kind of sparse, fluffy sections at the bottom, it can grab the juice that's down there without affecting wicking speed too much. And I normally add a little bit of a channel in there, just like that. And this cotton is pretty loose and fluffy, so it's not packed in there at all. And I'll kind of make sure that channel is there after I add juice. And just like other tanks that have sort of a similar design like the Hadley, you want to make sure that you cut those legs as short as you possibly can so that it doesn't hit the chimney when you're screwing it down on there. And I normally double check for a short just in case. So when I first did this build, I did not have a short, and now I just did, so I need to try and move those legs. And it's probably because while I was dry firing, I tightened it down some more, which tends to rotate these legs. So I think it might have rotated them out a little bit more. Okay, so there's not much clearance there at all. So just tightening the screws up again kind of messed me up there, because I'm positive there was not a short, and then after I tightened up the screws and all of that, it kind of added in a short. So you just want to make sure and double check after you're done with everything. So if you see from me filling it how much juice it actually holds in the bottom there, that's quite a bit of juice to not have access to if you make those wicks too short. Okay, so I'm going to try this at, I'll do 56 watts. And the airflow is going to be wide open. It's extremely loud with the airflow wide open, and I think that's You can probably adjust that a little bit with your coil positioning. Just where mine is, it's super loud. I'm going to take this up to 65 watts. So for single coil, the flavor is really good. It seems to be wicking more than fast enough. As you can see, it's already gone through quite a bit of juice. And I think if you put a smaller build in there than what I put in here, this would be wicking too fast. So you want to go with a little bit more cotton. But this is a really big coil in there, so it's going to use a lot of juice. The airflow is pretty restricted. It has kind of a different feel than something like the Reload, which is restricted also, but a lot smoother. This has a little bit of a turbulent, just restricted single coil feel to it. So for me, this is kind of like right on the border to being a high performance single coil, but I feel like it's not quite there because of the airflow. The very first coil that I put on here was a really big frame staple coil, which is kind of as high performance as single coils can go. At least that I do in any builds that I do. And the airflow just wasn't. It's not that it wasn't enough. It's that I had to breathe too hard to make it be as much airflow as it really needed. And kind of breathing through a restricted airflow too hard continually gets to be kind of uncomfortable. If you breathe too hard through it and it's so restricted, it's just not. It's not that pleasant. It kind of gives you a headache after a while. If you put just a smaller coil in there and chill out a little bit and don't breathe on it so hard, it's totally fine. But for me, it's just right at that border of not really being capable of doing really high performance stuff comfortably. So some of the other single coil stuff that I've done, like the Ferro RTA, that has plenty of airflow to do higher performance single coil stuff. So I would like to see a version of this design with a little bit more air. And I've talked to someone that said that they were talking about doing that. I don't know if that's true or not. But it's right on that borderline. So if you're into single coils and you're not looking to get really high performance single coils in there, then I think it would be a really good fit. It has really good flavor, but because it's single coil, it doesn't have the kind of warmth and density that I personally prefer, which is why I prefer dual coil. So for me, something like the Reload still has better flavor because it has warmth and density on a level that this one just doesn't for me. The airflow, it really isn't that restricted. I don't mean to give the impression that it's like bordering on mouth to lung or something, because it's really not. It's quite a bit of air. I'm just kind of saying that in the context of using it in really high performance coils. Personally, I think the flavor on this is better than something like the Ferro RTA. At least I enjoy it more, but still below dual coils, and I'm just kind of a dual coil person, so that shouldn't really be a big surprise to you guys that I'm going to prefer dual coil stuff. Yeah, overall, it has good flavor. If you like single coil stuff, it is absolutely worth looking at. And I know I've talked to quite a few people that prefer single coil stuff, and this is right towards the top of their list on single coil tanks that are available right now. And I can agree with that. I really like the flavor and performance on it. It's not hard to build. If you put big stuff on it, you're going to have some of the issues with the airflow that I talked about and kind of the difficulty that I had with dry firing. But if you're not trying to put massive coils in there, none of that is an issue, really. So overall, for single coil RTA, I recommend it. I like it quite a bit. So that'll bring us to the end of this video about the Serpent SMM by Wotofo and Suckmymod. If you like this video on our channel, give us a like and subscribe. And as always, if you have any questions, leave them below in the comments or send me an email. Thanks.